Blint Builders collapses. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heiser here and welcome to another episode of Heiser Says. Grab your stein of coffee because we have, another Melbourne builder this time that has collapsed. Melbourne construction company Blint Builders $1.4 million collapse. Customers are owed almost $540,000 with total debts topping a whopping $1.4 million. But mystery surrounds where some of the money is gone. Oh, well, there you go. I mean, let's jump over here and have a look at the website. We can see, they're a high-quality builder. Spec residential builder, everyone. This is a continuing story, isn't it? The construction apocalypse is just, it's hitting the residential sector really hard. And this is going to impact supply issues going forward. A Melbourne building company that collapsed owing $1.4 million. And I know people in the comments will go, $1.4 million is nothing. Yeah, as an outside party looking at something, sure, $1.4 million is what the cost of an average house in Sydney. But if you're a subby owed that $1.4 million, it could be enough to destroy your business. So, what the hell? Owing $1.4 million did not operate a bank account in its own name for almost 5 years, raising questions about where customers' money was being deposited, according to Liquidators reports. How? 5 years? In July, Blint Builders went into voluntary liquidation, with news.com.au revealing a number of homeowners were experiencing a horrendous amount of stress as they had poured hundreds of thousands of dollars into half-finished homes that had sat untouched for months. Cliff Sanderson from insolvency firm Dissolve was appointed to handle Blint Builders liquidation in August this year. He revealed that customers owe close to $540,000 by the company, but his investigations have been frustrated by Blint Builders' sole director, Michael James, who had failed to respond to any of my correspondence or calls from my staff, in a statutory report filed with the Australian Securities and Investment Commission. But in a bombshell section of the report, the liquidators claimed customers' deposits were paid into two accounts that were not in the company's name. Oh boy. This is just... you'd expect when you're transferring money to a business... you check the account. The account name should make sense, shouldn't it? But what if it's just the person's name and it's a sole proprietor? Remember when we had checks, guys? Remember when you used to do stuff like this with a check? I'm probably just old enough to remember doing business with checks. We'd get invoices paid from builders with checks. I'd actually used to write checks. Young people wouldn't even know how to do that anymore. In fact, the ASIC report revealed that the company's bank accounts with Bendigo and Adelaide Bank were closed on the 13th of September 2018. At that time, Mr. James was not a director of the business. Instead, it found some customers had made payments into two bank accounts that were not in the company's name. I've written to Bendigo Bank requesting to freeze the identified accounts and provide me with the bank statements the report found. The report from Mr. Sanderson reads, I was advised that as the bank accounts are held in a different entity's name, Bendigo Bank will not be able to comply with my requests. He also so these could they claw back these payments? I guess they were mistakenly paid by the customers. This is just really dodgy. It does not make sense. So someone's trying to do some funny business here, it sounds like. He also identified a Macquarie bank account in the company's financial statements, but was advised by the bank that this no longer exists. The above suggests to me that for a considerable period of time, the company did not operate bank accounts in its own name and instead deposited funds to a related party's bank account, the report said. Mr. Sanderson told news.com.au that it was very unusual for a company not to have a bank account in its own name, although he noted it was not illegal. Yeah, it just seems nuts. I don't understand why you'd do that unless you're doing something dodgy. Someone explain to me why you would do this unless you're trying to game the system. I understand having your personal banking and business banking in separate banks, even your emergency fund and your home loans and savings in separate banks. You want to spread it around. This just seems strange. But logic says it should be the situation to have a bank account in the company's name, and the difficulty it creates is all the money has gone around the company's control, which means I don't have a bank account to interrogate. I can't look at receipts and payments as there are none in the company's name, and this creates problems in liquidation, as I have to work out where the money went to, and I have limited access. So this is going to mean people are going to have no chance of getting any money back. It makes the investigation much more difficult and makes the recovery actions much more difficult. Well, maybe that's the entire purpose. Maybe that was the plan from the beginning. Saw the writing on the wall. And there you go. Mr. James, the current director of the collapsed company, is the only signator to the bank accounts where deposits were made, the ASIC report noted. In December 2018, some of the business's assets and goodwill were sold to Mr. James for $300,000, with a completion date for the sale in March 2020, although the exact nature of the transaction was not clear, the report added. News.com.au attempted to contact Mr. James. Ron Blint was a director of the company from 2008 to December 2021 and declined to respond to questions from News.com.au. So did he try and sell it on to the new generation, passing on the business? Sounds like it. In keeping with the law, my responsibility is to answer all questions put to me by the liquidator, he said. I've done so till now and will continue to do so. I've been advised that it is not proper for me to engage with the press while the liquidation is ongoing and will not do so. That makes complete sense. This just sounds like a complete mess. Oh boy, who's this? Who's covering the house? One homeowner was forced to cover the structure with tarps. He spent 2 to 3 days covering it with tarps. Good work, mate. Good to see someone's doing that. Oh boy. Because how many times do we see these horror stories? Actually, I've got a tarp coming off my roof. I've got to repair. Low value. ASIC reports also confirmed that the landlord had taken possession of Blint Builder's office after failure to pay rent. However, abandoned items, including furniture, computer equipment, and other property were of low value and not worth selling to recoup any of the debts. Mr. Sanderson said he had not been provided books, records, a statement of accounts, and a report on Blint Builder's activities and property from Mr. James, but had received some documentation from former accountants and the former director. Could this be someone took it over and didn't know what the hell he was doing? Could that be it? Someone who's got absolutely no idea running a business. Oh, you'd hope it would be something like that. You hope it would just be incompetence, not malicious. I was informed by ASIC that this matter had been referred to the prosecutor for review and consideration with respect to commencing prosecution action. The report stated in regards to Mr. James' failure to provide documentation. Fearful we will lose the house. One family impacted by the company's collapse were Tony and Joe Furman and their 2 kids who are building a home specially designed for her disability. Oh no. This Furman has multiple sclerosis, and the couple were building a home to meet her needs in the Melbourne suburb of Mordialloc, which included a swimming pool. They had demolished the original home and had signed up to build their $1.2 million home with Blint Builders, which was scheduled to be finished in mid-February and paid $1.14 million so far to the company. That's not looking only $60,000 off being complete. The 54-year-old said the couple had lodged an insurance claim, which had outlined around 70 items were outstanding, from missing door handles to concrete bench tops. He has also obtained quotes from existing trades on the outstanding work and estimates there's around $200,000 left of work to finish, from landscaping to painting to completing the pool. But he said the family are nearly broke. The amount of rent we are paying every month is around $3,000, and we're in financial distress. If Blint was still around, we estimated we would get around $50,000 worth of compensation from penalties until the point of terminating the contract, and rent we have to pay until the house is finished. Yeah, that's the problem. The insurer covers 2 months' worth of rent, he said. I'm most fearful that we will lose the house at some stage in the future, as we don't know how much will be covered by the insurer. So it's a fairly big price to get the house finished. Yeah, look at it. This is not... For someone with a disability, this is going to be very hard to occupy in the current state. It's a very scary position to be in, especially in a declining real estate market, and if the house isn't finished, it'll be even worse, as it could be devalued. We are hoping to get across the line and might have to borrow more money, but our income really doesn't support it at the moment, and interest rates are going up. This is just, everything's gone to shit for this poor family. However, Mr. Furman is trying to remain positive and hopes they get lucky, will be able to move in the middle of next year. Another family who were impacted by the collapse were Dean and Noel Fuller, who have 5 kids between them and had already shelled out $480,000 to the construction company to build a $1.5 million townhouse. Instead, the couple have been left with a slab and first floor framing, while this site has been vandalized twice since being left abandoned by the building company. Mr. Feller said he had to spend $500 buying tarps to cover the framing in the hope it can still be used, and spent 2 to 3 days covering the site himself. He added the family had expected to be moving into the new home by Christmas this year, but instead have been forced to extend the rental for another 12 months. The 54-year-old is currently going through the long and slow process of claiming insurance, which means at best construction won't start again on this site until early 2023. Meanwhile, the whole experience has left him with a sour taste in his mouth. It's a pretty demoralizing process, and it takes a long time, he noted. I want to get the house finished and stop the hurting and get over this process. My wife has had enough and doesn't want to talk about the house anymore. It's a difficult process. The project manager added he was trying to remain strong, but it took mental toughness to push through and keep going as he waits for the insurance to receive quotes from 2 builders and pay them out. The cost to build is going to be well above what we were quoted 2 years ago. And we're going to have to compromise significantly to get the same build for the same cost through no fault of our own, he said. Yeah, I mean, look at that. Other creditor groups are owed between $29,000 and $488,000. The report also revealed. However, it warned that not all potential parties have been identified and the debt could be even higher. Mr. Sanderson said he would need $20,000 more to pay his fees to undertake further investigations and mount a recovery action. However, without the funding, it would be unlikely that creditors would see any of their money back, the report said. So there's nothing here. This has just been a complete and utter disaster. So let's have a talk about this. I mean, I guess the only lesson here is make sure where you're paying the money is the same entity that you've signed the contract with, that it's their bank account. If not, that's a warning sign, isn't it? And I guess, because it's not illegal. It's not illegal, but it just seems really, really messy. I've never dealt with a business where it's been a separate entity. Maybe it's a separate trading name, and you can find that. You say, okay, the brand that you're dealing with, that's a trading name, and they've got a proprietary limited company there, managing it. But still, guys, this is just a sad story. Some of the subbies, no one's going to get their money back here. This sounds like a complete mess. I wonder what will happen to this guy. Do you think it was malicious, or he just didn't know what he was doing? As always, guys, thanks for watching. Check out my other channels, Heiser Mim and Heiser Says International, if you enjoy the topics that we discuss here. And if you're a fan of the channel and want to support us, there are a few ways you can. Financially on YouTube or Patreon, using our Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Aussie Broadband referral links, buying our Pocket Squares, or calling us if you need an architect. Take care, everyone. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next episode of Heiser Says. Bye for now.